Guardians of the Galaxy are back for one last ride. Does it live up to its former predecessors, or does it fall in line with the old trilogy tropes of being the worst in the series? I'm looking at you, Blade Trinity, X-Men Last Stand, and Rise of Skywalker. Let's get into it! Hey movie fans, I'm Matt, and today we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 directed by James Gunn. Now I have to be honest here, I haven't seen an MCU movie in theaters since Spider-Man No Way Home. To me, the MCU has lost a little bit of that comic book movie magic that it had back in Phase 1, 2, and 3. There's been a plethora of content, and I really don't think it's been that great. But when the trailers for this movie came out, I definitely saw it as an opportunity for the MCU to get some of that magic back. Did it? I certainly think it did. Let's go. So what's going on in this movie? Peter Quill, aka the legendary Star-Lord, is still dealing with the death of Gamora from Avengers Infinity War. He's a mess, and the team is in a bit of disarray. But he must rally the group together one last time to defend the galaxy and really protect one of his own. Now, one of my worries about this particular film going into it was that it was going to feel out of time. And what I mean by that is Avengers Endgame was 4 years ago, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was 6 years ago. So there has been, as I've stated earlier, so much MCU content that has come out since then that this movie feels like it should have come out a couple years ago. And it should have. But between James Gunn getting fired by Disney, then signing with DC to do the Suicide Squad, then coming back to Disney so that he can finish his trilogy, and then the virus that shall not be named, this movie has gone through the ringer. But it's here now, and let's get into why I loved it. One of the most appealing aspects of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the action. The film is literally filled with these grand and cosmic action set pieces that include a sequence where the Guardians are walking down a hallway, fighting monsters left and right, the camera's swirling around, the camera doesn't stop, it doesn't feel like, for a good 2 minutes. And it's bumping to Beastie Boys' No Sleep Till Brooklyn. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was in love with this scene, and I might have been dancing. If you were in that theater, I'm really sorry about that, but it was so much fun to watch. And it's stuff like this that really show off James Gunn's signature style and creativity. And it's really these moments that shine, and how he is able to take these offbeat characters and make us fall in love with them. I don't think there's a director like him that can take subject matter like this and take characters who we've never heard of and allow us to have so much fun with them. Along with the action, the visual effects in this movie are nothing short of spectacular. We see it in other movies when visual effects companies don't have the time to properly finish these kinds of things, and it shows in a final product. But in this movie, I truly feel that what we got, besides these stunning cosmic landscapes and these intricate character designs, is this depth and dimension to the story through those visual effects, and it's nothing but top notch. And it's clear that there was a lot of effort put into making these visual effects as immersive as possible, and it's wonderful. The acting in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was fantastic. Chris Pratt does a great job of continuing to bring the kind of character that has that charm, that wit, that sarcasm, and really kind of make us fall in love with him. And I really have to give props to Zoe Saldana as Gamora, because this isn't the Gamora that we all know, that we've seen in these other movies. This is a new Gamora, and she really does a great job at making sure that she differentiates herself while giving subtle hints, because they still technically, even though are on two different timelines, they still are the same person. But she makes this version of the character definitely stand out differently than the other version that we had in the previous Guardians films. One other aspect that I really enjoyed about this movie is the fact that James Gunn gave every Guardian their time to shine, whether it's through dialogue or through action. It's hard to be able to find a balance when you have such a big cast of people and making sure that everybody gets their time. And I really appreciate the fact that James Gunn gives that to every character in this movie. But lastly, it wouldn't be a comic book movie or review if I didn't talk about the villain. And Chakudi Iwuji as the High Evolutionary did not disappoint. And wrapped up in between this complex story is an antagonist who brings this massive haul of emotion and range and makes for an absolutely fun and scary villain for the Guardians to go up against. With all that being laid out, the story in Volume 3 is probably the most compelling. It's dark and emotional one minute, it's funny and heartwarming the next, and there's twists and turns to definitely keep you engaged the entire film. And there's a great balance to it as well, and I really appreciate that. The character development in this film is probably the best it's been in the entire trilogy, and it's really on point. James Gunn really had a monumental task doing these flashbacks while pushing the main narrative forward, and in the end, you're going to see really more growth, I think, of the characters in this movie than we've seen in the past. And with this being the final film of this trilogy and iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 wraps up the storylines of these characters in a really satisfying and heartfelt manner. I really enjoyed the conclusion that we got for everybody in this. It's really a fitting end to their journey, and I suspect that there will undoubtedly be a lot of people who appreciate what we get in this movie. But it's not perfect. There are things I didn't like about this movie, and let's get into those. First off, the previous installments had truly memorable soundtracks that played a really significant role in setting the tone of the film itself, and the music selection in Volume 3 didn't really do it for me. I had a chance to listen to the playlist before the movie came out to kind of get an idea of what Gunn was going for, and there are a few standout tracks, but it lacks the same impact and kind of that nostalgic charm that made the previous entries more iconic for me. One of the new characters introduced in this movie is Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter. Unfortunately, his character doesn't really live up to the hype for me. At the end of the movie, I really didn't care for his arc and everything that he went through. And that's not to say Will Poulter did a bad job. He's a great actor, and he did a great job with the material he had. But in terms of me gaining a connection to this character and wanting to see more of it, it really did fall short for me. Now, it is the MCU, so there's always a possibility that a character like him can come back and possibly win me over in the future. We'll see. One small complaint that I have is the dialogue in this movie, and it's not all of it. There's really one thing in particular, and characters in this movie spend an awful amount of time wondering if this new Gamora is going to remember memories from the old Gamora, which obviously makes absolute zero sense. Like, she's from a completely different timeline. So having characters spend the time going, you don't remember that? You don't remember that? Seems a bit redundant because it's not that Gamora. But that's just a little nitpicky thing for me. And along kind of those same lines, the humor has always been a big part of the Guardians of the Galaxy series, but some of the jokes in this one particular seem to kind of overstay their welcome. A few running gags start to feel repetitive, and for me, as it continued to go on, it felt a bit tiresome. So I do like the humor, and there's great humor in this movie, but sometimes those jokes, I tend to overstay their welcome a little bit. But despite these few shortcomings, the heart and soul of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 lies in the exploration of family and loyalty and friendship. And those are all great things to be explored and expanded upon within this universe. The bond between the Guardians has never been stronger, despite this being the last of the trilogy. And the emotional core of it is what makes this film very memorable for me. And I mean, this movie had CG animals making me choke up. Let that sink in. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, there are two, yes, count them, two post-credit scenes. So make sure you stick through the credits to see what little kernels have been left for us to munch on until the next MCU outing. In conclusion, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 really delivered an action-packed and emotionally satisfying ending of this trilogy. for me. I still think the original Guardians is the best of the series, but this comes in at a very, very close second. And then there's Volume 2, and it's just there, so we can leave it there. At the end of the day, yes, this movie does have some flaws. It's not perfect. No movie is, unless you're Man of Steel. You can comment in the DMs about that. But this story really was compelling. The acting was exceptional, and it really did have some breathtaking visuals. I would absolutely give a recommendation to anyone wondering if they should go see this. They should. See this in theaters, see it on the big screen with big sound, get the popcorn, get the soda, have a great time because it is a blast. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and watch this review. But at the end of the day, I'm really just one voice, and personally, I want to know what you guys think. Am I crazy? Did I miss something? Did you see a completely different movie than how I saw it? That's the great thing about movies, is how people see things differently. So please let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to having discussions and having my mind changed about the movies we love or we hate. Next week, I'll be checking out the newest mystery thriller, Hypnotic, starring Ben Affleck, my boy Batman, directed by Robert Rodriguez. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys at the theaters next week. If you enjoyed this review and want to see more, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any of the future videos. I'll see you guys next time.